I wanted to quickly show how I'm using bias binding attachment to go around the corners without stopping the seam itself. So first of all, you need to find a good balance between the distance of bias binding attachment to the presser foot and the width of the presser foot. I am not using the standard width of the presser foot with this attachment. I'm using the more narrow one, like you can see the difference, because basically with the regular one, it often misses in the corners. It often misses. It just doesn't work as well. But that's something that you have to find out on your specific machine and with your specific bias attachment. But I just wanted to show the specific technique of going around the corner once you have found and experimented and found the good combination for the bias binding. So let me go just until the corner and then I'll show it. Well, first of all, you see, like in my found combination, there is a third instrument I'm using apart from the width of the presser foot and the distance of the bias binding attachment. I also use regular screwdriver, flat one, just to feed it, just to basically control how the bias tape feeds, especially on difficult curves. Like I don't need to do this on straight lines, but it comes handy. I can just guide it so it's going evenly. And it's especially useful when the pieces of bias tape, I have the bias tape here on the roll. So once it's wound on this roll, when it comes closer to the top or bottom, the tape itself is not lying flat. I think, well, let me lay it down. You see, it is already curved. It has a certain curvature into it. So that means that some, like the top part is a little more stretched, the bottom part is a little less stretched. Perfectly, it shouldn't be like that, but when it's on the bobbin, I don't think you can avoid it. That's when the screwdriver comes handy to just when the top part feeding into through the attachment is slightly more stretched out, it can be how to explain, it can be a little bit wavy, so it helps me to put easy waves and to make them lie flat. And after I iron the bound piece, after it's complete, the bias tape will lie down naturally flat and the stretched out part and will flatten out, so it's not a problem in itself. But just once you when you're attaching, to have a control over it, that's a useful one. Let me go to the corner and get to the main topic. So once I get to the very edge of the piece, you see my needle is right in the edge of the piece. What I do is I take the needle out, take care that the lever here goes all the way up, meaning the stitch is complete and the bottom thread have been pulled up. Then what I do is I don't pull it too far from the point where it was. I stick, again, this tool comes handy. I stick the screwdriver under, making bias tape fold, kind of hold it. I stick it under, push the bias tape down, then turn the whole piece 90 degrees, put it in between the bias tape, and then do the same thing for the top part of the tape, just push it flat. Then I continue stitching. Same again. I reach the corner, I reach the very edge, then stick the screwdriver flat side, hold the bias tape down, turn the piece, pushing it between the bias tape, top and bottom parts, and then push the top part of the bias tape flat. And then keep stitching. So that's how I go around the corners. Let me finish this one and I'll show to you the results. just I will cut this piece off of my long line of bias tape pieces, just to show the result. So you see, it's pretty decent. It's not perfect, but for the perfect result, you would need to stop the stitch, and basically you would not be able to do it while the bias tape is fed through the bias tape attachment. Basically, you would not be able to go around the corner in any other way than I shown, I think. If you know other methods, tell me. But you will either have to go around the corner fully manually stitching the bias tape, but it's just much faster to use the binding attachment for the long and straight and curved pieces. And for the corners, since there is a way to do it in a decent manner. So you see the old bias tape is code okay, it's not perfect here, it's not perfect here, but it's just good enough for what I'm doing. And it's just much faster than doing manually the same kind of operations, because I have done it both. I have done it manually, and it just takes tons of time, and it still would not be perfect. You would still have to do some corrections, because without that attachment, there is a risk that the bottom part of the bias tape is not getting caught by your stitching. So especially in the concave part of the curve, and then you have to go over it again, and it's just like it's worse. Basically, the result is not so neat, because sometimes you will have double stitching. So this is the way to go around the corners. Yeah. Maybe it would be useful for you. I don't know how many times you have to go around the corner using bias tape, but maybe that will open the opportunity to do that, since now you know that it is possible. Ta-da! Bye-bye!